Okay. So for class today, you'll need a few supplies. The first thing is your sketchbook. Everyone will need your sketchbook. You will also need a pencil and eraser and a ruler or some kind of straight edge you can use. And then the other main thing you're going to need is a piece of like 8.5 by 11 printer paper if you have it, or some kind of a drawing paper. It can be different sized if it needs to be. If you don't have like blank white paper like that, your next best bet will be doing it actually in your sketchbook. If you have to, it's really best not to. And then if you don't even have that, you can use like lined paper if it's your only other option. But it's really best to not use that if you can help it. Cool. Okay. So we're going to jump into things today. I'm going to be talking to you about something called Surrealism, which is like a category of art. I've got like a little presentation. It's like 5 slides. It'll go really quick. I'll have you write one definition in your sketchbook, and that's all. And then I'll kind of show you an example of what this project will look like. Okay. So I'm going to start off by sharing my screen here.
I gotta go get a chair real quick. I don't have no chair.
Okay, go ahead. All right, sharing my screen. I'll present this. So up in the corner, guys, like the thing I just shared, if you go up to the right-hand corner, you can like make it full screen, and you'll want it full screen for this. It'll make it a lot easier. And then this definition you're seeing on screen is what you'll actually write in your sketchbook. Surrealism is the style of art we're talking about. And the like simplest, most pared down definition there is just stuff. It's artwork that focuses on the unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind, you can think about that as like when you're dreaming. You know, when you're sleeping, dreaming, that's your unconscious mind being able to like roam free, and you end up with some weird dreams. You know, and that's kind of what surrealism is all about. Is showing that like weirdness of what your brain can come up with. Okay. So if you're all good to go, make sure you get this definition written down. You're going to put it in your sketchbooks, and you can put it in the same page you had your like value scale, or you can put it in the page where you did the perspective practice, wherever you can fit it. But this is the only thing you're having to write down. So just give you a few more seconds, and I'll move on. Now, I've just got a few examples of surrealism art, and I'll talk to you about the project. And the rest of the day is time for you guys to work on it. Okay. So, an example here.
Everyone froze.
This one right here is probably the most famous surrealist artwork there is. It's called The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali. And Salvador Dali is probably like the most famous surrealist artist as well. This painting is like the size of a sheet of printer paper. It's like 8.5 by 11, something similar to that. It's pretty small, but he did a lot of good detail with his painting. But what you'll see in all the images I'm going to show you here, these are all surrealist art, and every single one of them will have a few similarities. One of them is, and if you have the full screen, you can kind of see my cursor here. One of the similarities is they're all going to be landscapes, which means it's like a scene of like nature or whatever. It's there's ground, there's a horizon line, and there's sky, right? And we talked about how the horizon line is what divides the sky from the ground, and most of these are going to have a horizon line. They also have a lot of them have these like geometric shapes. Very, very strange geometric shapes involved in them, and that's kind of what we're going to be taking from this into the project we're going to do. They also have really strong light sources a lot of the time. You can see these nice, rich shadows around different objects. And in this one, like the more you look at it, the weirder it gets. At first, you just see it's landscape, there's melting clouds. Okay, no big deal. But as you look closer and closer, you start picking up on more things. There's like this mountain range in the background, and then over here it's like there's water. Then you have this weird platform back here and some random like rock just on its own sitting there. You got this like table or desk or whatever it is and a tree growing out of it. There's a clock around it. And there's this clock and like a fly sitting on it. And this clock has, I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a bunch of little ants standing on it. And then you have whatever's going on here. Some people think this is like a person's like eye closed and those are like eyelashes. It's like a nose up here and a tongue sticking out. I don't know. It's strange. But yeah, surrealism. It's all about those types of images you see when you're like dreaming. It's all supposed to look very dreamy and surreal. That's kind of where the word comes from. For the most part, there'll be like these big, vast, open landscapes with like nothing in them, except for a few random, strange objects. Okay, so next one. It's another strange one. This is like a compilation of a bunch of different surrealist artists' work. It's kind of funny. But here again, that vast, open landscape with not much in it. It's got horizon line going across the back. It's got a lot of depth. You feel like you could like walk for miles and miles and miles and never bump into anything. It's got the big sky and all these like geometric shapes, right? And these are all done with perspective. Like the ones in the front are bigger than the ones back here, And of course, a ton of weird stuff going on, right? And this is the last one I'm going to show you. And here again, the same stuff. This is also surrealist work. A lot of weird stuff going on, but those fundamental like similarities I want you to pay attention to. Besides there being weird stuff, is it's a landscape. It's got a horizon line. This one has like mountains in the background, and they get smaller and smaller as you get further and further away. It's big open space, big open sky. It's got some of these geometric shapes. This like block right here, this big geometric shape, and it's in perspective. Like if you follow these lines going further and further back, they'll bump into the horizon line somewhere back here, and that's where you get those perfect lines from. And it all makes perfect sense because they're using 1-point perspective on it, which is awesome. So, with all that said, I'm going to switch over here. Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop presenting and switch my camera over so you guys can see. I've got on my table. So, 1 sec. Exposure's not too bad this time, which is nice. Okay, cool. So this is still really rough. I'm just starting it, okay? But this is an idea of what your final product could look like. Or not final, what your halfway done product could look like. What I have here, what I started with, and what you guys will start with, is making some of the shapes we did like yesterday, right? These I just did rectangles. You can do like a cylinder or whatever. Like I have some of these other pages from yesterday or whatever. In 1 second. Try to flip through and find one where I did some other stuff. I don't know what I did with that paper. Anyways, you can do like a cylinder. You could do a triangle going back in space, like whatever shapes you want. I want the shapes to stay geometric because those are the only ones that will really work very well with perspective. And in order to do these shapes, remember the first thing you need is your horizon line and a vanishing point, right? Those are the two big things you need. And when you're putting those on the page, yesterday I told you, horizon line in the middle, vanishing point in the middle. But with this final one you're doing, you can make that horizon line be like down at the bottom. You can have it all the way up to the top, wherever you want it. And that vanishing point, you can have it all the way to the left, all the way to the right, or anywhere in the middle. Totally up to you, okay? But then once you have your horizon line established wherever, your vanishing point, remember, is always going to be on your horizon line somewhere. Then you can start making these shapes. And here I made 3. You have to do at least 3. That's what I'm requiring. But you can do 4, 5, 6, 7, however many you want. And when you do these, I mean, you don't have to make them look like mine. You can make any shape you want. You can make one like a really big one that fills up like half the page, and then a couple other small ones, whatever you want. Then, once you have those shapes, the next thing is for you to start filling in the background. And just like those landscapes you were seeing, surrealist stuff, right? You're going to try and make it look like a different world almost. And they did that by messing with different colors or having a very empty space, which is really interesting. So for mine, I have like these trees in the background. They get smaller and smaller as it gets further away. And then I'm going to make this like a big empty field and a big empty sky with like some clouds. I think that'll look really cool. Other things you can do though, you can make it look like an ocean, like you're floating above the ocean and have these blocks just like floating in the sky. I could make it look like a big desert with like mountains in the background, like cactuses. Or I could make it look like a big, like the frozen tundra, like a bunch of snow and stuff. Whatever you want, totally up to you. But you want the landscape to be relatively simple, and then the focus on the shapes you're doing, okay? And once you do the shapes, you can start thinking about lighting, right? You want these to be 3-dimensional. So you'll have one light source, you'll decide what it is, and then you'll have like shadows and stuff. That's why I was starting to try and figure out these shadows coming off the shapes. Okay? That's a lot, but you guys got this. Hopefully you have some ideas buzzing around your head. But to start, don't even think about the landscape. Just focus on doing exactly what we did yesterday, right? And when you're doing this, I use a ruler to make all of these lines, to make them really nice and straight and perfect. So take your time. We have till Friday to get this done. And some people won't even have it done Friday. That's okay. But you got plenty of time. So no need to rush it. Also, check with me frequently. Once you have your shapes done, check with me. And then I'll have you start working on the landscape. And once you have the landscape drawn in with pencil, check with me again. And I have to give you permission to start using color. Because once you start putting color in there, there's no going back. Okay, cool. I think that's everything I had to cover. So you guys are good to get started. Remember to tilt your cameras down so I can see what you're doing while you're working.